we have the two Brabhams, the two Ferraris, a Renault and an Alfa Romeo in the top six, and the promise of a really exciting Italian Grand Prix, because the World Championship position is that Alain Prost is leading Piquet by 8 points. Piquet is only Arnoux by 6 points. Piquet then is in third position with Patrick Tambay, and to correct myself, my apologies, René Arnoux in second place is 8 points behind Alain Prost. Now this is the approach to the Vialoni. James, a few quick words from you on the warm-up lap before the start.
Yes, they're just coming down the back straight now to the last of the chicanes that were put in a few years ago to slow the cars down under the bridge. They get up. This is quite a fast chicane, taken in third gear at something over 100 miles an hour. And then out onto the final straight down to the Curva Grande, 180 degree fast, difficult right-hander here. We see the cars coming down to it, and a very good runoff area. You see the in the front of the shot here, the sand, and if a car goes straight on, it goes into that sand, and it stops them very, very quickly indeed. And that's been there for some years, and I sometimes wonder why it hasn't been adopted more elsewhere.
Here at this is the completion of the warm-up lap for round 13 of the 15-round World Championship, the Italian Grand Prix. The cars exit the Parabolica, and in pole position for the second time only in his career, Italian Riccardo Patrese in the Brabham BMW. See him now, you'll just see him coming into sight. There he is. Behind him, the two Ferraris of Patrick Tambay, second fastest, and René Arnoux, third fastest, who are respectively third and second in the World Championship. In fourth position, Nelson Piquet. Fifth is Alain Prost, the World Championship leader, and sixth is Andrea De Cesaris. This race, 52 laps. Two Ferraris, and behind them the Renault, and look at the lead that the Brabhams have already on lap one in this 52-lap race. And Chiva is closing up. Prost is in seventh place. Then it's the two JPS Renaults of Ennio De Angelis and Nigel Mansell, both of them worried about the ability of their tyres to last as they come down to the Vialoni, into the Ascari bends. Tambay third, Arnoux fourth, Chiva fifth. De Cesaris there is in sixth position. The Alphas have had a lot of turbos blow in practice, and Eddie Chiva is still tucked up there as they come out of the Ascari bend. Fourth gear, fifth gear, 180 miles an hour, and the Brabhams lead, and Chiva is now up behind René Arnoux.
Yes, we've got an interesting situation out front here with the two Brabhams, in that the two that Patrese and Piquet had a major row this morning when suggested that Patrese could let Piquet through from the point of view of getting World Championship points in the event of finishing those together. And Piquet was storming up the pass to Patrese then, but didn't make it. But it seems he's not going to get any help from his teammate. There was quite a nasty row. Words were said. Bernie Eccleston left them to it. Just pointed out to Patrese that he hadn't yet signed his contract for next year, which I think was a fairly irrelevant remark, because as far as what we understand, he's not really being offered one. So that seemed quite irrelevant. But I don't know whether anything got sorted out subsequently, whether Eccleston has managed to pour oil on troubled waters. But here they are. There's certainly no love lost between them out front.
And there are the two JPS. Lotus is streaming through, but what a wonderful sight at the front. The two British-built Brabhams with the German BMW engines. There's Piquet second. Now, this is lap 2. Tombay and Arnoux, the two Ferraris. The second and third men in the World Championship. Cheever behind them in 5th position, then De Cesaris, then Prost. And now they're coming out of the Ascari bends again, down to the Parabolica, into the Parabolica, and Arnoux goes up into 3rd position, takes his teammate, Patrick Tombay. It's been impossible to find out whether the Ferrari team are operating under orders. And now, as they go through the gap between Riccardo Patrese and René Arnoux, who is in 3rd position, and Eddie Cheever coming up to try and take Patrick Tombay, in 4.5 seconds, and Cheever goes up ahead of Tombay into 4th position, and off goes De Cesaris. This race is finished. Andrea De Cesaris is out on lap 2.
Yes, he won't get out of that. Here we can see it again. Cheever coming up, getting the toe, and outbraking Patrick Tombay, who's lost two places in as many corners. Tombay got a little bit of a twitch on that, and there is De Cesaris overexcited in his own Italian Grand Prix, basically leaving his braking too late, knocks up the back to avoid hitting Tombay, and spins off, and he's buried in the thing. And Prost having a terrible moment trying to avoid it all behind. And there's the car well and truly buried. You try and get out of that, you just can't. The car just buries in it. Very effective, as I said earlier, from the safety point of view, but not so clever if you want to rejoin the race.
Well, so the Renaults now have benefited. Cheever is in 4th place. There is Tombay 5th, and that means to say that Alain Prost is in 6 points and in the World Championship points position. And there's an enormous roar of approval from the crowd, and he's blown. That is Patrese. Patrese engine has blown already on lap 3, and another roar from the crowd, because although Patrese is Italian, that means that the Ferraris will be moving up. It means, too, now that in the lead is Nelson Piquet, and with Nelson Piquet leading, in 2nd position it is Arnoux, 3rd is Cheever, 4th is Tombay, in 5th position behind Tombay, Prost, in 6th position is Daniel De Angelis, and the gap between Nelson Piquet in the lead is 3.6 seconds. Piquet leads Arnoux by 3.6 seconds. Will really have his head down for it, because he's in 2nd position in the World Championship. That is Niki Lauda's car in the pits. Lauda in the pits. So already on lap 4, Andrea De Cesaris is out of the race. Patrese is out of the race. The pole position man is out. Niki Lauda is into the pits, and the turbos are starting to go. Now, those figures at the bottom show Giri 3, lap 3, in the lead. Number 5, Piquet. In 2nd place is number 28, Arnoux. That is Riccardo Patrese's car being pushed in. There is the leader. Here is the 2nd place man, René Arnoux, and Eddie Cheever is the man to watch in this race, 3rd. Pulling away from Patrick Tombay, number 27 there, 4th in the Ferrari. Now, the Ferraris were having a bit of tire trouble in the warm-up period. They were perfectly happy earlier on, but here is Arnoux on Goodyear and Cheever in 3rd position on Michelin.
Yes, I noticed, Murray, when the cars were sitting on the grid, they changed the rear tyres on René Arnoux' car, and I would imagine that's a change of compound. I know that there's been quite a lot of nail biting from all the teams about picking the right using the right tires, and it's the decision that has to be made.
Well, Eddie Cheever, watch him, because he's come up from 6th position into the 3rd race that he's in now. He's challenging René Arnoux, and if Cheever can get ahead of Arnoux, that is going to improve Renault's championship prospects in the constructors section of the championship. But however, there's a long, long way to go in the Italian Grand Prix yet. Is Piquet's car going to be reliable? Rotten luck for Riccardo Patrese, because the Italian number 6 has had 11 failures to finish now in his 12 Grand Prix this year. And now look, there is Cheever, and Elio De Angelis is closing up on Prost. And there goes another turbo. That's the 2nd Alfa Romeo, and it is Mauro Baldi. Mauro Baldi on lap 5 is out of the race too. So my goodness, the mice are really getting at things there. There you can see in the background Baldi, and Derek Warwick comes up now. And on this lap, with Baldi laying the most enormous smoke screen, he is passed by the JPS Lotus, and that must be at least the 6th turbo that the Euro Racing Alpha team have had go since practice started. And you're looking at René Arnoux 2nd, Eddie Cheever 3rd, chasing the race leader Nelson Piquet, and in 4th position it is Patrick Tambay, 5th is Prost, 6th is De Angelis, 7th is Derek Warwick now, in 8th position is John Watson, 9th is Nigel Mansell, 10th is Winkelhoff, 11th is the leading non-turbo is Keke Rosberg, and in 12th position Bruno Giacomelli. There is Patrick Tambay in 4th position. There is Arnoux and Cheever. Well, the race is starting to settle down into a little bit of a pattern now. Lap 6, you've seen Piquet go through. You see Arnoux looking in his mirrors. The gap between the leader, Piquet, and Arnoux, and Johansson is out. Well, I wonder, this is only lap 6, and Stefan Johansson in the Honda, which has blown 3 engines in practice, is out of the Italian Grand Prix. So they're disappearing rapidly. Now, Tambay, Cheever, and De Angelis. Elio De Angelis, it could well be that De Angelis, worried about his cars lasting, is certainly going to have a go at getting up through the field while they are in good condition. The gap between Piquet and Arnoux now is 4.3 seconds. And there is Arnoux 2nd, Eddie Cheever 3rd. A wonderful scrap getting behind them now between Tambay, Prost, and De Angelis for 4th position. Look back down the field, and there, as going round the Lesmo bend, coming out of it is Piquet. Piquet leads Brabham BMW. Arnoux 2nd, Ferrari. Cheever 3rd in the Renault. Rumours only of Eddie Cheever leading the Ligier team next year, because it is said that Ligier have told both Jarier and Graham Moselle that their contracts will not be renewed for 1984. Piquet, this is lap 7. It's a 52 lap race.
Yes, there we see Cheever beginning to get stuck into trying to pass René Arnoux. A really storming race Cheever's driving. He made a terrific start and really got stuck into it well. It seems Prost's form seems a little bit off colour this weekend. He was not as fast as he would have hoped in practice. He was quickest in the warm-up this morning, which we thought might indicate a return to form. But if anything, he's striking to say the pace. And there is De Angelis having a little look down the inside, but not this time. He's been sort of sniffing around the back of the Renault for a while, but it's very right to say that noticing very concerned about the durability of their Pirelli tires. Stay in mint condition for very long.
Lap 7 in the crucial to the World Championship Italian Grand Prix, leading Nelson Piquet 5 seconds ahead of this battle as you see. Second place René Arnoux, third place Eddie Cheever, but then 4th, 5th and 6th very close to each other. Patrick Tambay, Alain Prost and De Angelis challenging Prost for that 5th position ahead of Derek Warwick, 7th, and John Watson, 8th.
Yes, but that was a battle of the Brits going on behind that, Derek Warwick and John Watson. And as they went past him, he didn't see his picture opposite the start-finish line here. Watson was actually looking as if he was lining up to pass Warwick, and I think he probably just took that place from Derek Warwick. So that may well have moved Watson up into 7th place.
And John Watson is driving in his first Grand Prix in a turbocharged car because he has the second of the 2 McLaren tag turbos with their Porsche-built engines. Did extremely well in practice because John Watson was 20th at one point in practice and worked his way up through the field, and in the warm-up today he was 7th fastest and looking very good. Now here is Tombe, Prost and De Angelis battling for 4th position. Number 15, the World Championship leader, Piquet, has now completed his 8th lap ahead of Arnoux and behind Arnoux Chiva. Across the line go Tombe in 4th position, Prost in 5th, Elio De Angelis in 6th place. Then there's quite a long gap before John Watson is indeed up into 7th place ahead of Derek Warwick, who is 8th, and Manfred Winkelhock, who is 9th, and Nigel Mansell is still going in 10th position. Here are the leaders. Piquet's already been through Arnoux and Chiva, and it really does look at the present moment on lap 9 out of 52 as though René Arnoux there in 2nd place in the World Championship is unable to do anything about getting away from Chiva or catching Piquet. In the same way, Patrick Tombe, number 27 in the red Ferrari, is not taking off Alain Prost, and Alain Prost has still got Elio De Angelis in his wheel tracks in 6th position in the points. And the tyre story may soon start to be told. Tombe, 4th, Prost, 5th, De Angelis 6th, the leader, Piquet. What's the gap between Piquet, the leader, and René Arnoux? The answer is 4.86 seconds. And De Angelis is going to try and take Prost in 5th position. And he's through, is he? No. Prost cuts in front of him and he's going through.
Yes, the problem that De Angelis has got at the moment, which we're is that every time he gets a run behind Prost, Prost has the advantage of being able to stay in the Ferrari tow in front of him. Therefore, Prost is still getting a tow, and when De Angelis nips out of the Renault's tow, the hole in the air that it makes, he doesn't get any help, so the Renault then gets that benefit, and this will be a problem that makes it very difficult for
Baldi is out of the race, and so is Stefan Johansson. Nelson Piquet is leading by some 5 seconds from René Arnoux in the Ferrari. Eddie Chiva is in 3rd position, and there is the battle for 2nd and 3rd between Arnoux and Chiva going into the Vialoni, now the Ascari bends. And here is the battle for 5th and 6th. The Ferrari of Tombe 4th, the Renault of Prost 5th. The JPS Lotus of number 11, Elio De Angelis, the Roman, in 6th position. 7th, John Watson. 8th, Derek Warwick. 9th, Manfred Winkelhock. 10th, Nigel Mansell. 11th is Bruno Giacomelli, so both the Tolmans are in the top 11 places. And Keke Rosberg is the leading non-turbocharged car. Possibly his last race in the Ford DFB-powered Williams, because he's hopefully going to be racing the new Williams Honda at the European Grand Prix at Brands on September the 25th. And there, as you see, is the leader, Nelson Piquet. And Elio De Angelis, I can tell you, you'll see him in picture, has passed Alain Prost as there are Arnoux and Chiva. And that means to say that Elio De Angelis in the John Player Special Lotus is up into 5th place in front of Alain Prost, which reduces Prost's World Championship points at the moment from 2 to 1. And René second place. So a tremendously interesting Italian Grand Prix, Arnoux and Chiva. That was Niki Lauda back in the race, apparently. Now look down the field, and you see here Patrick Tambay and Elio De Angelis now, having got past Prost, looks as though he's setting about the fourth place man, Patrick Tambay, on lap 11 out of 52. There's Lauda going through. He's been into the pits, of course. Now Chiva's closed up a bit on the second place man, René Arnoux, rounding the parabolica into the start and finish straight. Here is Nelson Piquet.
Yes, there we see Chiva. He's a bit stuck behind René Arnoux now. He's been in that position for some time, but he doesn't seem to be able to get close enough to get a clear overtaking run, create a clear chance. So he is going to have to just keep pressing on hard and hope that Arnoux might make a bit of a slip. He's a little bit closer now, but that, unfortunately, is by no means close enough. He needs to get right up in the toe of that very powerful Ferrari.
Nelson Piquet leading as we look at the battle for second place between Arnoux and Chiva. Is in third position in the World Championship, notwithstanding the fact that he's had 5 failures to finish. So if he can keep going in this race in the position he's in, he's going to close up the World Championship situation between himself and the leader, Alain Prost. Here he is, Nelson Piquet, number 5, World Champion of 1981. There is Niki Lauda, who's been into the pits and out again, as René Arnoux in the Ferrari, second place. Eddie Chiva in the Renault, third place, lap 12. Close up on Duvet, the tag turbo. You see the Ferrari flags waving in the background. The Tifosi are here in their tens of thousands, the Ferrari fans. There's Lauda, lapped, Arnoux and Chiva. Second and third. Fourth is still Tambay, but he's got De Angelis even closer than he was before. Piquet goes across the line to complete another lap as Arnoux and Chiva go through. 5.6 seconds is the gap now. There's 13 seconds before Patrick Tambay goes through, and Tambay has now got Elio De Angelis right in his wheel tracks in 5th position. Lauda being lapped by Arnoux and Chiva. This is lap 13. Piquet leads, Arnoux second, Chiva third, Tambay fourth, De Angelis 5th, Prost 6th, John Watson in 7th position, Derek Warwick is 8th, Winkelhock is 9th, Mansell is still 10th, and Giacomelli 11th.
Well, that's the closest we've seen Eddie Chiva get to Arnoux, and now they get a bit of a run down the straight, but he just lost that little bit of ground through the second Lesmo. He's not close enough now, but what he really wants to do is to get as close as possible into this chicane, get a good exit from it, and try and get him as they go down towards the last corner. But he's not close enough at the moment. That Ferrari's got just too much power. No, he's not going to be able to do it from there. Arnoux's using every inch of the road and a bit more, bumping it over the curve there, but that's not normally doing any harm. I don't like to have that done all the time. And there is De Angelis having a go at Patrick Tambay. He's having a look, but he's not quite close enough. But I would back De Angelis, who's driving the storming race too. It's not his home drive.
We're seeing 2 races within a race, with Nelson Piquet leading now by 7 seconds as into the pit comes Piercarlo Ghinzani in the Kalamata Osella. I think he's probably going to be the 6th retirement in this race to join Johansson, Baldi, Lauda, Patrese and De Cesaris, who have already gone out of the race, and John Watson's blown it. John Watson has just gone past the pits, and he was in 7th position. His tag turbo engine gave an awful thump as he went past. He slowed dramatically, and although we haven't seen John Watson in vision, I suspect, there he is, John Watson out of the Italian Grand Prix in 7th place on lap 14 in his first drive in a turbocharged car, having driven a jolly good race to work his way up from 15th place on the grid to 7th place in the race. Now he's had to retire. So it's still Nelson Piquet leading, still this battle between Arnoux and Chiva for third position, and we have three different makes of car in the first three places. There is the leader in the Brabham BMW. In the background, you see the Scarlet Ferrari second and the yellow Renault third. And De Angelis is now in fourth position. De Angelis on lap 14. There he is, the black and gold car in the background, has passed Patrick Torbay to take fourth position. Well, great stuff. The new JPS 94T, in which Nigel Mansell finished in fourth place in the British Grand Prix, is now in fourth place in the Italian Grand Prix. And by the way, Nigel Mansell himself is in 10th position. There is Chiva, third. Now, I wonder if De Angelis, having got past Alain Prost, having got past Patrick Torbay, is going to try and catch Eddie Chiva. Of course he's going to try.
Yes, we'll see if he can make any impression. In the meantime, Alain Prost appears to have got a bit of a new lease of life. He's closed up. He appeared to be struggling to stay with De Angelis, or Tambay De Angelis, and then he's sort of come right back to them. So whether he's got his car a little bit better, or whether they had a bad lap, we'll have to keep watching.
And as we keep watching, there is the man to watch, the race leader, Nelson Piquet, on lap 15. Nelson is actually supremely confident. He is in third equal position in the World Championship with Patrick Torbay. Has pointed out rightly that with 5 retirements, he would have been much nearer the front if he had been able to keep going in those other races, and that he intends to win the last 3. Out of the race. Now in the Italian Grand Prix, as in Grand Prix since Brabham started the vogue last year, pit stops could well be the story of the race. There's Chiva in third place. Now this is our understanding of what is going to happen. The first pit stops are going to be on lap 23, when Mauro Baldi would have come in, and Niki Lauda if he keeps going. Well, Baldi's out of the race now, so we can expect to see Eddie Chiva and De Angelis come in on lap 24, René Arnoux on lap 25, and then the important ones are that Keke Rosberg is going to come in round about lap 27. But the most interesting thing of all is that Nelson Piquet is due to make the last pit stop of the race on lap 31, and Alain Prost, the World Championship leader, is due to stop on lap 28. So we're on lap 16 now as we look at René Arnoux second, Eddie Chiva third. Nelson Piquet is extending his lead all the time. There's Piquet in the white and blue Brabham with the red helmet. He's now 7.7 seconds ahead of this man, number 28, René Arnoux. And in the background you see the storming fight for fourth position, because Patrick Torbay certainly isn't giving up. Number 11, De Angelis, is fourth. Number 27 in the Ferrari, Torbay is fifth. Then behind him, Torbay, is Alain Prost in sixth position.
Yes, Prost's new lease of life seems to be sustained, because he's now beginning to look as if he wants to challenge
Arnoux, second place. Terribly important to René Arnoux that he finishes well up in this race so that he can close the gap between himself and his bitter rival, Alain Prost. And Prost yesterday was the sensation of practice in quite a different way, because to say that he is a much hated man in Italy would be a masterpiece of understatement. Alain Prost, as we look at the second and third names, Arnoux and Chiva, has had to have 2 very heavy bodyguards here in Italy all through this meeting, because he's had death threats. And he was given the raspberry in the biggest possible way by the Italian crowd yesterday. He responded by getting on the pit wall and making a rather rude gesture to them, which made them even angrier. And then Prost proceeded literally to conduct the Italian crowd into increasing their frenzy. So Prost now, if he stops, has been told that he's to go straight to a marshal's post and ensure that he gets the right sort of protection. Arnoux, second. Cheever, third. Lap 17. Piquet leads. De Angelis is fourth. Torbe is fifth. Frost is sixth. And still going hard in seventh position is Derek Warwick in the Coleman. And Warwick, of course, finished well up in Holland in fourth position to get his first World Championship points. That's Danny Sullivan. And there is Arnoux, who has dropped ahead of Corrado Farby to lap him. So therefore, Eddie Cheever has got to pass Farby before he can get at Arnoux. And there's no doubt at all about the fact that René Arnoux is pulling away from Eddie Cheever. Cheever passing or trying to pass Farby, who moved across to the right as Cheever tried to pass him on the right. Cheever goes through the Rogier bends, which lead into the two Lesmo bends. 155 miles an hour they take those bends out into the Seraglio. A very fast 180 mile an hour run down to the Vialoni. Look for the red helmet of race leader Nelson Piquet, who has put up the fastest lap. 1 minute 34.4. Nelson Piquet then, and that compares with the lap record of 1 minute 35.6. Behind Piquet is Johnny Cecotto and Roberto Guerrero. There's Guerrero going through. Second Arnoux. There he is. Into and out of the Parabolica, into the start and finish straight, down to the Rettifilio again. Piquet has crossed the line, and the stopwatch that I started is ticking away, and the gap between Nelson Piquet, the leader, René Arnoux in second place, as you see, Eddie Cheever there in third position, is still some 7 seconds. Cheever has passed Danny Sullivan. And on lap 19, Piquet then in the Brabham BMW, who has already won in Brazil this year, 3 second places, a third, 2 fourths to give him third equal position in the championship, is 7.3 seconds ahead of René Arnoux in the Ferrari, who is 2 seconds now ahead of Eddie Cheever, who is some 8 seconds ahead of Elio De Angelis, who is fourth. Patrick Colby is just behind De Angelis in fifth position. Sixth is Alain Prost. Seventh is Derek Warwick. Eighth is Winkelhock. Ninth is Mansell. 10th is Giacomelli. 11th and the leading non-turbo Keke Rosberg. And 12th is Michele Alboreto.
Yes, Nelson Piquet looking very comfortable up front there, and slowly but surely increasing his lead. He's now up over 7 seconds, and just going up potentially a quarter of a second a lap, or half a second a lap. Arnoux just putting out around getting himself in between the back markers. No difficulty for the turbocharged Ferrari. It's a much lower, normally aspirated Cosworth engine cars, which are, as I say, much lower on the straight. There goes Arnoux, just powering fast.
And there is René Arnoux, who has just surged fast as they go into the Rettifilio, pulling away in the Ferrari. Through the Rettifilio now. And away. Well, René Arnoux then. Here's Cheever. Johnny Cecotto sandwiched between René Arnoux in the Ferrari, Eddie Cheever in the Renault. Johnny Cecotto, the double X motorcycle world champion, is about to be engulfed by the turbocharged Renault of third place man Eddie Cheever. But while Cheever may pass Cecotto without all that much trouble, and Cecotto has been going extremely well in this race. He's got one of the now regrettably unfashionable Ford DFB engines, because they have finally, after years of superiority, and if my memory serves me right, 155 Grand Prix wins, the superb Ford DFB engine has now finally been overcome by the turbos, and Cecotto has been overcome by number 16, Eddie Cheever, and lapped in the process. And Nelson Piquet now is coming through to has completed his 20th lap. And you see Eddie Cheever. Well, the gaps are getting a bit spread out now. The interest in this race is not so much for first, second and third as for whether Elio will be able to hold that fourth place. He's now 55, just under half a second, just over half a second, I'm sorry, ahead of Patrick Torbay, and Torbay has got Prost right behind him. Then, between Prost and Derek Warwick, there's a 15-second gap. That's between 6th and 7th. Derek Warwick is 14 seconds ahead of Winkelhock. Winkelhock is 3 seconds ahead of 9th place Nigel Mansell. And that is the confirmation of the position after 20 laps, and we're now on lap 21. Piquet, Arnoux, Cheever, De Angelis, Torbay and Prost. And that is Thierry Boutsen. Here is René Arnoux. There's a slight breeze blowing at Monza. The flags are just about horizontal from their flag poles. There's not a hint of rain. It's a bit muggy, and the conditions are just about ideal, I would say, for turbocharged cars. It's not too hot for them. And that is the Ferrari. Ferrari leading the Constructors' Championship in front of Renault, though there's a Renault of Eddie Cheever, by 12 clear points, and by 39 points ahead of the Brabham BMW car, which is in third position in the Constructors' Championship. Out of the Italian Grand Prix already, Andrea De Cesaris very early in the race. Carlos Patrese, the man who had pole position with a superb lap of 1 minute 29.12, compared with the fastest ever lap at Monza in a Grand Prix car. Mario Andretti qualified his Ferrari last year in pole position of 128.5. So Patrese went out of the race on lap 3. Niki Lauda's been into the pits but has rejoined the race and is currently in 20th position. Mauro Baldi has gone out. Both the Alfa Romeos yet again flattered only to deceive, because De Cesaris was 6th on the grid and Mauro Baldi was 10th. There is the race leader. Out of the race also has gone Stefan Johansson. And incidentally, I said that Johansson in the Dutch Grand Prix had only finished in one Grand Prix. That was, in fact, his second Grand Prix finish, because Johansson finished in Australia and in Holland. In Austria and Holland. Australia maybe next year, we hope, but certainly not this. So there is René Arnoux. That is Eddie Cheever. And the gap between first and third is 11 seconds. The gap between first and second is 8.2 seconds. Then there's 3 seconds before Eddie Cheever comes through. And it looks, James, as though the only changes at the press post that are likely to be caused, the only changes that are likely to be called are due to reliability problems.
Yes, and of course the pit stops. They're close enough now that a good stop or a bad stop by one or other can flip things around. But and of course the battle for fourth place is still pretty much joined, with De Angelis not really getting away from Tambay and Prost will be very anxious to hang in there and try and pick up the paces. But up front they've spread out now, and it does look a little bit processional. And Ferrari becoming already togged up and in position, ready to start servicing their cars. And here we see Tambay making a little excursion, just a little shortcut across the sand pit, but he was lucky that he didn't stay there and get stuck in. So remains to be seen if he survived that unscathed with no damage to his car. Of course, sand getting into the engine or anything like that is not good for them.
There should be some more Ferrari excitement soon, and incidentally, it was at the Rettifilio that Patrick Tombay overran. There should be some more Ferrari excitement soon, because as René Arnoux goes through to complete his 23rd lap, he's due to come in on the 25th lap for 3 laps ahead of his teammate, Patrick Torbay. And of course it means that Alain Prost has had a chance to close the gap between himself and Torbay, with Torbay going off. Prost in 6th position, Torbay in 5th place, and there's no change then on lap 24.
Well, Torbay seems to have survived that excursion unscathed, although when those 3 cars went past, I thought I heard a rough engine note on that group of DeAngelis, Torbay and Prost. I'll listen to it next time round and see if I can pick it up, but it may be my imagination, because it was sounding a little, there was a funny noise there before.
Well, it obviously wasn't Piquet's car, because he's not in the group, but there he is, going strong. Nelson Piquet, the 1981 world champion from Brasilia, on lap 24, not due to make his pit stop until lap 31, the last of all. And we're keeping a very careful eye open on the entrance to the pits, which you see just on the left of that pole there, because we should soon see people peeling off and going into the pits as Nelson Piquet goes through to complete his 24th lap. Well, René Arnoux isn't stopping on this lap because he goes through now, but Cheever is coming in. 10 laps, 10 seconds is the gap between race leader Piquet and Arnoux, and there you see the digital clock in the background, which will give you the time for Eddie Cheever's pit stop, and a very good pit stop is under 10 seconds. Away goes Cheever, 11.6 seconds. Absolutely no problem. The Renault pit staff were practicing assiduously early this morning. There is Elio De Angelis.
Yes, well, unfortunately we didn't get to see him stop, but congratulations to the Renault team. They turned Cheever around pretty effectively then. 11.5 seconds isn't likely quick in this day and age, but it was very efficient.
You've seen Piquet go through. This is Arnoux. I'm looking across the pits as I also look at René Arnoux, as you are looking, and I can tell you that the Ferrari pit is all ready to receive René Arnoux, who is in 2nd place in the race and in the World Championship. I see the Ferrari mechanics beautifully decked out in their identical boots, red overalls, red crash helmets, and blue neck protectors. And into the pits now is coming René Arnoux at the end of lap 25, exactly on schedule. The fastest pit stop we have so far is that of Eddie Cheever. Now watch them. The fuel hose goes into the top. The other hose goes into the side of the car. Off come the wheels. And up go the pneumatic hammers, which indicate, and out goes René Arnoux in 11.99 seconds to ecstatic applause from the crowd. And the difference between Eddie Cheever's stop, he was in 3rd position at the time he came in, and René Arnoux, as Arnoux goes into the Rettifilio, was only 0.3 of a second. So just as the cars are very closely matched these days, so is the slickness of the pit crews, irrespective of whether they're Italian, British, or any other nationality. There's Arnoux. And there is Eddie Cheever. So their positions have been unchanged. Eddie Cheever sandwiched now. It looks as though it's Cecotto in front and Guerrero behind. And so now on lap 16, with Eddie Cheever having made his pit stop, René Arnoux having made his pit stop, the race order continues to be Nelson Piquet in the lead, René Arnoux 2nd, Eddie Cheever is in 3rd position. Behind Eddie Cheever is Patrick Torbay. There is Patrick Torbay. Then Alain Prost, and you see Alain Prost in the background. And Prost is slowing. Alain Prost. It's Cheever. That's Eddie Cheever. And it's past Alain Prost. Looks to me as though he's going very slow indeed round the parabolica. On lap 26, Prost is slowing down. He's coming into the pits. Cheever goes through, and the crowd is going absolutely berserk because they've heard on the public address that Alain Prost, who was actually in third position at the time due to the previous pit stops, may be in trouble. Let's see if he is. It looks routine. He's talking to the Renault technician. The wheels are being changed. Of course, the fuel is going in now. Is he going to get away quickly? That's been a terribly slow pit stop. 15.8 seconds. Alain Prost has lost nearly 5 seconds to Cheever and Arnoux due to a very slow pit stop.
Yes, as he pulled away then, he's got some sort of engine trouble. I think the engine was coughing and banging out, and I don't think that is a healthy Renault departing. It was also a very slow stop. So that casts new light on the World Championship, with Prost looking as if he's not going to be scoring in this race. That leaves the way clear for René Arnoux to close the gap, and of course for Nelson Piquet, who is also in range and is still a possible world champion. And if he can hold on and pick up 9 points today in a win, certainly going about the right way at the moment, then he will move into striking distance with 2 more races to go after this one. So the championship, for terms of excitement, the good thing seems to be closing up. There's a different cross.
Well, you can see why they're excited. Nelson Piquet has just lapped Prost. Prost is very clearly, I would forecast, driving out of the Italian Grand Prix, which is going to blow the World Championship, as James was saying, absolutely wide open, because Prost's 8-point lead would be reduced, in fact totally eradicated, and that is Derek Warwick in the pits in the Candy Tolman. Derek Warwick on lap 28, and that means to say if Prost is out of the race potentially, 13.2 seconds Derek Warwick. Not a particularly scintillating pit stop, but he's still running. And we have to wait and see whether Alain Prost, with 27 laps of the race completed, and we look at the race leader Nelson Piquet, we have to wait and see whether Alain Prost is still in the running. And at the present moment, the order is Nelson Piquet is leading. Patrick Tambay is now second. René Arnoux is now third. In fourth position is Eddie Cheever. You see Rosberg come into the pits and stop, and he is very much the leading non-turbocharged car, is Keke Rosberg, because he is in 11th place, or was as he came into the pits. And that's 12.7 seconds then, the fastest pit stop so far, as Keke Rosberg's last out of the pits is 11.6 seconds. And on lap 28, Nelson Piquet leads. Tambay is second, Arnoux is third, and there is Tambay in the pits. The second place man, Patrick Tambay, in the pits. Fastest time so far is 11.6 seconds. Out goes Tambay, 11.7. Patrick Tambay out of the pits, so Alain Prost gets no points from the Italian Grand Prix for the World Championship. And now a lot is going to depend on Nelson Piquet's pit stop, which is due on lap 31. He is now on lap 30. Incidentally, Nigel Mansell has been into and out of the pits, and the race order as I talk to you on lap 30, and you see Patrick Tambay, who was in second place when he came into the pits, is Piquet leading, Tambay, Arnoux, Cheever in fourth position. In fifth place it's Elio De Angelis, and in sixth place it is Manfred Winkelhock in the AGS. And here is Arnoux with Cheever behind him. Now this, because Tambay has gone in for his pit stop, is now the battle for second place. And Cheever is trying desperately as they go into the Rettifilio to get through and take Tambay, but he'll never do it there.
Oh, that was very, very close stuff. I thought Cheever had committed himself. He locked up his left front wheel there, which of course when that's knocked you get less braking effect. And I really thought he might just slide into the back of Arnoux there, unintentionally of course, but he seemed very committed to manoeuvres he couldn't make. And there's Niki Lauda coming into the pits for his GP stop that he's already spent some time in the pits earlier, and is 6 laps or more away from from the pace, having had that long pit stop early in the race, and so he won't be in a tearing hurry. And he's accelerated away, he's long down there. Now Patrick Tambay has just settled down. He's managed to get clear of Scotto and Guerrero, who are circulating in team formation. And you will see that they were actually past him at one stage. But that was because he's on cold tires on his first lap out. And here is the battle for second place. And Cheever's having a look, but he looked earlier in the race and was finding it difficult to deal with the power advantage that the Ferrari has got. But he's well placed to get a tow and to have another go this time as they come past the pit. And to do it at the first engage. So I think after his experience on the previous lap, he's going to cut the heroics there and try and find another way of getting round it.
René Arnoux is going to be a very, very difficult man to pass here at Monza. Very difficult indeed. They're closing up on Thierry Boutsen, the very, very good Belgian driver in the Arrows. And look at the battle now.
Yes, and the back markers may could present Eddie Cheever with an opportunity if neither of these third cars get in Arnoux's way at all or hold him up. That would be the opportunity, could create an opportunity, and Cheever should be looking very hard for this opportunity at the moment.
Yes, indeed. And now this is the most important pit stop of the race. It is that of Nelson Piquet, and it can actually be a very, very leisurely pit stop because Piquet has now got a vast lead. The fastest pit stop we've had is that one. 10.15 seconds for Nelson Piquet. Well, he deserves to win this race. He deserves to win it not only for the brilliance of his driving, as we see this continuing battle between Arnoux and Cheever. Arnoux has muscled his way past Boutsen, and now so has Cheever. They're coming through to complete their 31st lap out of 52, and this was where Cheever tried before as they come down the fast 190 mile an hour start to finish straight into the Recatillo to take Arnoux, but he's too far behind to do it here. Lap 31, and at the moment still Nelson Piquet, who has made his pit stop, leads this battle between Arnoux and Cheever for second and third place. In fourth place is Patrick Tambay. Fifth is Elio De Angelis. Sixth now is Derek Warwick. And in seventh place is his teammate. That's great, Bruno Giacomelli. Eighth is Manfred Winkelhock. Ninth is Nigel Mansell. 10th is Keke Rosberg. Out of the race goes Niki Lauda. And what's happening to this battle between the second and third then? Tambay has now gone ahead, and Eddie Cheever has got to lap that tail ender that I'll identify for you in a moment. That says lap 31, we're on lap 32. Piquet, Arnoux, Cheever, Tambay, De Angelis, Warwick, and Derek Warwick is again in the points, as he was in Holland. So Derek Warwick is in the World Championship point scoring situation here in Italy, as Eddie Cheever now sets about trying again to close the gap between himself and second place man number 28, René Arnoux. Eddie Cheever's had rotten luck in this year's races. He's been out of so many of them.
Yes, I wonder if we're going to see a repeat of the pattern of the first half of the race between Arnoux and Cheever, in that at the beginning, when his cars were completely fresh, Eddie Cheever came storming up in the first few laps, got right up behind René Arnoux, harassed him for a while, and then slowly fell away. And that could well be a tyre situation. They're on different mates, and it could be that his are fast as well once they get fully operational, because he doesn't appear to be charging as he was a couple of laps ago when they first came out after their pit stops.
It is wrong in many ways to forecast World Championship situations, but if René Arnoux finishes where he is now, in second place, he'll have 49 points to Alain Prost's 51. If if Nelson Piquet finishes where he is now in the lead, he will have 46 points. So there will only be 5 points between the first and third cars as the Grand Prix scene moves to the European Grand Prix, a brand match in a fortnight's time on September the 25th. What a race that's going to be to see. What a race this is to see. Nelson Piquet holding a very commanding lead now. His only worry, with a 25-second cushion between himself and number 28, second-place man René Arnoux, is the reliability of his Brabham BMW. Because he has retired from 5 races this year, Nelson Piquet. His teammates, Riccardo Patrese, has retired from all except 2 of them, and that means 11. So, regrettably, the reliability of the car that you're looking at, the Brabham BMW, must be suspect. But now Nelson can afford to turn the boost down a bit. He's got an adjustable boost control underneath his left hand and can just take the edge off that, relieve the stresses on the engine. He's got so much experience, Nelson Piquet, because this is his 76th Grand Prix. And he will know exactly what the score is from pit signals, and he can literally pace himself home to victory in this, the 13th Grand Prix of 1983, provided his car stays reliable. He's now on his way down to the Parabolica on lap 34 out of 52 in the lead. From René Arnoux, second, 23 seconds behind him. Right behind Arnoux in third place, Chiva. Fourth is Tombe. Fifth is De Angelis. Sixth is Derek Warwick in the Tolman. Seventh is Manfred Winkelhock now, who has gone ahead of Bruno Giacomelli. Eighth. Ninth is Mansell. 10th, the first non-turbo, as usual, Keke Rosberg. 11th, Mark Fura, and 12th, Thierry Boutsen. That's the gap, 21.2 seconds between the leader, Piquet, and second, René Arnoux.
Well, I don't know whether Piquet's in any sort of trouble, but the gap is coming down quite fast in about the last 3 laps. They pulled nearly 4 seconds off Piquet's lead, and if things continued like that, then they would catch him by the end of the race. So whether they put a different compound of power on or something in a gamble that hasn't worked, or what happened during that. I can only think that his car still sounds healthy, so I don't think it's a mechanical problem. But anyway, we'll keep watching that and see what we can work out from it.
In case you're confused by the numbers at the bottom, it means that in the lead, number 5, Piquet. In second place, number 28, Arnoux. In third position, number 16, Chiva. In fourth position, number 27, Tombe. And so on. And that is number 28, Arnoux, followed by number 16, Chiva. They are on lap 35. There's still some distance to go, but the pit stops have been completed. The fuel tanks have been topped up. The tyres, possibly, as James says, with what are judged to be more suitable compounds for the second half of the race. It's a lot warmer now than it was when the race began. And battle is joined for what is in effect a second Italian Grand Prix on the same day after the pit stops. And Chiva is gaining. Keke Rosberg is really flying in the background. He has been lapped in 10th position. Piquet leads, Arnoux second. And we're going to start taking the gap now between Piquet and Arnoux. There is Arnoux, and when Piquet comes round on the next lap, we'll tell you what the gap is between himself in the lead and the battle for Arnoux there and Chiva second and third.
Yes, we're going to try and have a good listen to Piquet's engine as he comes past, because having just said to you, I thought his car sounded healthy. We listened to it as he went past that time, and it should sound maybe 100%. I'm going to have another good listen. See if that gap is shrinking.
Lap 36, you're looking at the battle for second. Ahead of Arnoux there and Chiva is Piquet. Behind them, Tombe fourth, De Angelis fifth, Warwick is in sixth position. And there is Niki Lauda walking in. The gallant Austrian, double world champion, retires from his second race in the McLaren Tag Turbo. Not altogether unexpected, because it takes a long time to iron reliability into a complicated new engine in an entirely, virtually new car. Eddie Chiva, number 16, third position. He sees ahead of him still René Arnoux. And Arnoux, even if Cheever gets alongside him, is going to have an absolutely inspired Cheever to get past him. And Piquet's gone through, and his engine certainly is sounding to me a bit umpty. I've got the watch running. What do you think, James?
Yes, sounded very rough to me, and that would explain the speed at which the gap is coming down. It could be that Nelson Piquet, it sounded like a broken exhaust to me, and of course on a turbocharged engine that is a disaster, because it means his turbocharger won't be functioning, the pressure will be leaking out, and so basically Piquet will be taking everybody on with a 1.5 litre normally aspirated engine and the mixer all on.
James is absolutely right, I think, in his forecast, because Patrese has had broken exhaust before. It has happened to the BMW setup, and the gap is now down to 17.7 seconds. A roar of approval from the crowd.
If it is a broken exhaust and things don't get any worse, Piquet could certainly keep soldiering on and would still, I think, finish in the points. He's got plenty of leeway still to play with, but he wouldn't be finishing in the first 2 or 3, which is what's important to him, because he needs those points in the championship.
4 seconds in 3 laps then has been lost by Nelson Piquet. This is lap 37. It's a 52-lap race. If you're good at mental arithmetic, you can work out what the chances are of Arnoux catching and passing Nelson Piquet. And if Arnoux did catch and pass him and stayed there to the end of the race to win again, and that would be his 4th win of the year, he would move into the World Championship lead. And James and I are going to be in a very hazardous position, because we are absolutely surrounded by the Tifosi here at the stand. There's Arnoux going through, and you can see that Cheever, as they come up to catch and pass Keke Rosberg, who moves over and sportingly lets them through, Cheever is crowding Arnoux extremely hard. He's giving the Frenchman absolutely no respite. 17.6 seconds was the gap at the end of the 36th lap. They are now on lap 38. The order: Piquet leads Arnoux second, and that is Manfred Winkelhock in the pits.
Yes, and funnily enough, a couple of laps ago when we were listening to Piquet's engine, Winkelhock went by just in front of him. He, remember, also has a BMW turbo in there, and his sounded very rough and woolly, and it did sound similar as if he's got trouble with his exhaust system, but whatever it is, it's brought him into the pits. Meanwhile, Piquet is out there soldiering on. Up front, of course, this is the important battle for second place at the moment, but looks like quite likely that it will eventually become the battle for the lead. And Cheever was very much like this in the early part of the race, and Cheever didn't seem to have any answer, although he's nice and close this time, but still too much daylight between them. And Piquet's just gone by, and his engine doesn't sound any worse, if that's any consolation. But they're pulling that gap in.
Well, you're going to see them cross the line. I've got my stopwatch running. Arnoux crosses the line now. The gap is 17.9 seconds now. So to within 0.2 of a second, it is exactly the same as it was on the previous lap. 17.7, 17.9. Nelson Piquet is maintaining the gap.
Yes, I didn't take my headphones off and listen to Piquet's engine that time. I will next time round, because it actually, I thought it sounded healthier. That would carry out the fact that he suddenly started to hold the gap, but I don't quite understand. It's pretty abnormal for an engine to have something go wrong with it and then miraculously cure itself. So we're a little bit, it's all interesting speculation at this stage.
Lap 39, the race order. Nelson Piquet, we continue to look at the battle for second between Arnoux and Cheever. Or we did. We're expecting it to come into sight now. In 4th position, it is Tombe. In 5th position, it is De Angelis. 5th position, I say again, Elio De Angelis. 6th is Warwick, and 7th is Mansell. So there are Arnoux and Cheever. Now, this is the gap that you see ticking away between Arnoux in second place and Piquet the leader. on lap 40. Now, another 12 laps to go, including the one that they are on. You see now Patrick Tambay coming towards us in 4th position. In 5th position in the white helmet and the black and gold car is Elio De Angelis. 6th is Warwick, 7th is Mansell, 8th is Giacomelli, 9th is Rosberg, who has been lapped, 10th Sura, 11th Charrier, 12th Boutsen.
Yes, when I listened to Piquet's engine as he went past that time, but couldn't hear it because he was surrounded. He was actually passing the back market. But the speed at which he went past them on the straight does suggest that whatever trouble he's in at the moment is not too serious. Now there's Tambay, who doesn't have much breathing space in front of De Angelis, and he'll be working hard. 3 seconds he's got on him at the moment to fend off Elio De Angelis.
Who is in 5th position? There is Tambay. 4th position, Patrick Tambay, number 27 in the race. 3rd equal in the championship with Nelson Piquet, who is currently leading the Italian Grand Prix on lap 40 out of 52. Number 28, René Arnoux, 2nd place. Hard behind him, there he is, Eddie Cheever. Notice how they both run wide as they come out of the left-hander at Ascari. Rosberg behind them has been lapped and is in 9th position now into the Parabolica. This bend that goes on and on and on, and they take it at over 150 miles an hour, accelerate up into 5th gear. They're getting up to 190 miles an hour as Piquet there, the race leader, exits the Rettifilio, rounds the Curva Grande, comes up to the left, right, and then a slight left at the Roggia bends. This is Nelson Piquet leading the Italian Grand Prix on lap 51, and there was Derek Warwick, who is still in 6th position. Derek Warwick has not been lapped, nor has Nigel Mansell, who is 7th, nor has Bruno Giacomelli, who is 8th, but soon. So it must be Giacomelli, not Warwick. My apologies, that Piquet is closing up on. And that is Nigel Mansell, who is now in 7th position ahead of the man in the orange helmet, number 36 in the Tolman, Bruno Giacomelli 8th, and the next man you see is Nelson Piquet leading the Italian Grand Prix. Now watch that right-hander in the background. When you see a scarlet car, that's Arnoux in 2nd place, and you just fail to see it because the cameraman follows Nelson Piquet on lap 41 in this 52-lap race round the Parabolica. We'll start the stopwatch again. It was 18.5 seconds. The gap between the race leader here, number 5, Piquet, over the line now. Sounding the BMW engine rough, but it has done for lap after lap. And it hasn't deterred Nelson Piquet from slightly increasing his lead as he goes out of the Rettifilio. Arnoux is pulling away from Cheever, but the gap is coming down. It is 15.5 seconds now between Piquet, the leader, and Arnoux, 2nd. And we have 10 laps, including this one. That was Piquet. In front of him, Giacomelli. And if Bruno Giacomelli in the Tolman gets in the way of Nelson Piquet, it's going to give René Arnoux the chance to close up in the closing stages of the Italian Grand Prix. It's going to give René Arnoux the chance to win his 4th Grand Prix of the year, having already won here in having already won at Canada and Germany and Holland. There is Giacomelli in the distinctively liveried Tolman. That is Nelson Piquet. They're out of the Ascari turn, down to the Parabolica. Now you may see, as Nigel Mansell disappears, and Bruno Giacomelli and Nelson Piquet, respectively 8th and 1st positions, you may see the Ferrari in the background. Yes, we're staying with it to see how far René Arnoux and Eddie Cheever are. Arnoux comes out and passes Danny Sullivan in the Benetton Cyril. And Eddie Cheever has now got Danny Sullivan in front of him. Piquet has completed another lap. That's his 42nd, and I'm waiting for Arnoux to come through. I've got the stopwatch running. There is Tambay with De Angelis behind him. The gap is 15.6 seconds between race second place man Arnoux.
Well, PK seems able to hold the gap most of the time, but it may be that he has some intermittent problem, which in that case that would suggest an electrical problem with something maybe moving around in the car with a faulty connection that is connecting and disconnecting itself. Again, fairly speculative, but because he seems to hold the gap nicely for a bit and then all of a sudden lose a large lump. But it really is most odd. They usually either work or they don't.
I'm concerned on Nelson Piquet's behalf that it was such hard work for him to get past Giacomelli. He's taken a long time to get past him. He's closing up now on Nigel Mansell, number 12, who is in 7th position, to lap the Englishman in the JP and Renault. He's now pulling away from Bruno Giacomelli, so maybe Giacomelli was just holding him up a bit, in which case I can't see Bruno Giacomelli making it too easy for René Arnoux to get past when the Frenchman catches it. Another lap completed by Nelson Piquet, and that is his 43rd lap completed as he goes into the second gear, 100 mile an hour Rettifilio. It's right, right, and out again. It's a very long series of bends, artificially made. René Arnoux crosses the line, 17.05 seconds. So despite the fact that Nelson Piquet in the lead, and here he is, had to scramble his way past Bruno Giacomelli, he has increased his lead over René Arnoux by nearly 2 seconds in one lap. He's on lap 44. Arnoux is still second. Cheever is now third, but Cheever is 4 seconds nearly behind René Arnoux. Fourth is Patrick Tambay, so the Ferraris are second and fourth. De Angelis is fifth. Warwick is sixth. Mansell is seventh. Giacomelli is eighth. Rosberg is 9th but lapped and the leading non-turbo. Jarrier is 10th. Sura is 11th. Thierry Boutsen is in 12th position. And out of the race have gone Lauda, Prost, Watson, Ginzani, and I'm looking down and seeing somebody coming into the pits very slowly indeed. And it's Thierry Boutsen as Nelson Piquet rounds the parabolica, coming down to complete lap 44. There is Thierry Boutsen in the arrows. He's in 12th position. Oh dear, he's not in 12th position anymore because it looks to me as though Boutsen was being pushed out of the race by the very experienced and skilled arrows mechanics. And there is Nelson Piquet on his 45th lap. Well, is the Brazilian going to make it 2 Grand Prix victories in the 13 races he's driven this year?
Well, I've certainly got one's fingers crossed for Nelson. He was very unlucky in Zandvoort. One of Prost's very rare mistakes made Nelson the innocent victim of that when they were battling for the lead. Prost obviously got a finger off, and if he was a victim of mechanical disaster here, you would be able to say quite fairly and definitely that his luck was not running. Anyway, he's still there, and he is maintaining the gap, and unless he gets a further mechanical problem, he now gets in a very strong position. But the engine does sound a bit rough to us up here, and we're pretty certain that there is that the car is not 100% anyway, but it seems to be adequate for the time being.
There's the discharge show coming up, the distance between Nelson Piquet and the second place man René Arnoux. You will recall that it was just over 17 seconds when he completed his 44th lap. There is René Arnoux approaching the timing line. Well, he's certainly not gaining. No, if anything, he's losing. Nelson Piquet is certainly maintaining the gap, and if that is right, 21 seconds, he's more than maintaining it. He is increasing it. Yes, definitely, Nelson Piquet is increasing the gap between himself and second place man René Arnoux, and the gap now between René Arnoux in second place and Eddie Cheever, who has certainly lost touch with him, that is Patrick Tambay in fourth position, but the gap between Arnoux and Cheever is 3.3 seconds. Lap 45 52 lap race. You're looking at the 4th and 5th men. That's De Angelis, who is in 5th place. 4th is Torbay, 3rd is Cheever, 2nd Arnoux, leading is Piquet, 6th is still Derek Warwick, who, if he keeps going in the position that he's in now, will get a World Championship point for the 2nd race in succession. An enormous fillip for the Tolman team, who have been struggling so very, very hard for 3 years to get their car reliable enough and quick enough with its Brian Hart's turbo engine to challenge the Grand Prix leaders. All they need now is a good budget to be right up there. Nelson Piquet, lap 46, leading, has lapped, as you can see, Giacomelli, but Giacomelli is certainly hanging on. And just as it's meritorious that Warwick is in 6th place, it's meritorious that Bruno Giacomelli in the 2nd of the Tolmans is in 8th position. Up to the line and over it now goes Nelson Piquet. There you see 8th place man Bruno Giacomelli into the Rettifilio, 2nd gear, the leader. Out of the Parabolica as Nelson Piquet exits the Rettifilio with 46 laps completed is Arnoux, 15.7 seconds. And Giacomelli, having been caught and passed by Piquet, is not being shaken off by the Brazilian. Far from it, he's trying to retake him and unlap himself. Do you think there's any significance in this, James?
Well, yes, I think there must be, because Piquet got past him earlier when we know that he was going quickly, and then pulled away, not very fast, but quite decisively, and then all of a sudden, Giacomelli's back on his tail looking for a way around, and I think it indicates, it confirms what we've already surmised, and that is that Piquet has some sort of intermittent problem. But I think we also see that as long as it gets no worse, he should be able to hang on all right.
We've been talking a lot about tyres in this race, as usual, because they are so important, as Nigel Mansell dodges out and passes Roberto Guerrero, who is in front of Johnny Cecotto, and now Nelson Piquet and Bruno Giacomelli still together, albeit separated by a lap, go into the Parabolica again. We've been talking about tyres a lot. Well, the Michelins are in the lead in the form of Piquet. Goodyear is 2nd on Arnoux's car. Elio De Angelis and Warwick and Mansell in 5th, 6th and 7th places are on Pirelli tyres, so they're concerns as we look again at Mansell taking Guerrero with Cecotto behind him. The concern that the tyres on the Coleman and the John Player Special Renault might not last the race were obviously totally unfounded. Good news. And this is lap 48 as we look at Eddie Cheever. And now the Guerrero, Cecotto, Piquet and Giacomelli. And let us hope that nothing happens with Cecotto and Guerrero in front of Nelson Piquet, because Piquet is making a considerable deal out of getting past the slower men. See, he's not closing up on those 2 cars in front, and they are both Ford DFV powered, and Piquet has got an enormous horsepower advantage over the Ford DFV. Well, he's past Cecotto now, and of course René Arnoux, when Piquet has got ahead of Guerrero, as I expect him to do shortly, will then be faced with the problem that Piquet has solved of getting past Guerrero, Cecotto and Giacomelli, and since there are only 5 laps, including the one that they're on left, it looks as though Piquet is going to make it.
Yes, he must be down on power, because he's made awfully hard work of getting past the Cecotto Guerrero Ford engine cars. These 2 teammates, by the way. So he's finally worked his way out of the sun. But these 2 teammates have been locked nose to tail for actually the whole race, and it might look like a demonstration formation run. The outside's done a little bit the normal way. The 2 drivers will be very keen. It's a very hard race at the end, because it'll be a matter of some personal pride to come out in front.
Now there has been a dramatic closure of the gap between Piquet and Arnoux. It's down to 12 seconds, but I think that is due, as much as anything, to Piquet having to thread his way past those three cars which are still holding on behind him. Bruno Giacomelli still hasn't been taken off. And although Piquet's got past Guerrero and Cecotto, I don't think he's done it so much on power as on sheer driving ability, plus perhaps some increase in power, but nothing like the amount that he normally has. And that's giving René Arnoux the opportunity to close up to some 12 seconds now, with 4 laps to go. They're on lap 49 in this 52-lap race, but as I've said before, Piquet has got a comparatively clear circuit in front of him. Just Nigel Mansell there, number 12, who's in 7th position. And still, René Arnoux has got to catch and pass Cecotto, Guerrero and Giacomelli before he can get to grips with, even if he closes up on Nelson Piquet, who's rounding the Parabolica to come through and complete his 49th lap, catching Nigel Mansell in the black and gold JPS Renault, who is in 7th place. I can see René Arnoux bearing down on me as you look on. Piquet clearing the Rettifilo, 11.6 seconds is the gap. Cheever is still in 3rd position, Torbay is still 4th. Torbay is now 7 seconds ahead of the 5th place man, Elio De Angelis, who is 30 seconds ahead of Derek Warwick, who's in 6th place. Derek Warwick is only 3 seconds ahead of Nigel Mansell, who is in 7th place. Bruno Giacomelli has been lapped but is in 8th place. 9th is Teddy Rosberg, still the leading non-turbo car. 10th is Jarier, 11th is Jura, 12th is Guerrero, and as you know, just behind Guerrero in 13th place is Johnny Cecotto, the Venezuelan. Piquet with Bruno Giacomelli tucked up tight behind him, and now we're looking under the bridge to see René Arnoux in 2nd place. Arnoux has got the message, quite literally. He's on lap 50, as is Piquet. This is René Arnoux' chance not only to win his 4th Grand Prix of 1983, but also to take the lead in the World Championship if he can catch and pass the current race leader, Nelson Piquet. Arnoux. And if Arnoux wins this race, there's going to be absolute uproar, because the Tifosi here are literally holding their breath at the moment. They're just waiting for the break that they want. The good news from their point of view that René Arnoux has closed the gap even further between himself and Piquet.
Yes, the best result for excitement in the championship, which is what we obviously hope for, is that they finish the way around they are at the moment, because that would close Nelson Piquet up to, well, I think we'd have something like 5 points covering the first 3 drivers. There's Prost at 51, we'd have Arnoux at 49 and Piquet at 46, if they finish in this order. And I think Piquet's experience, he's holding on, and he'll nurse the car into the finish and do as little as possible to risk any further injury to it, because there is no doubt there's got something wrong with it. Meanwhile, Arnoux will be giving it one major final charge in the forlorn hope. Interestingly, Cheever fell away again, as he did in the first half of the race, after harrowing René Arnoux for a while. I don't know whether that was his tires having a different sort of durability performance, they are on different makes, or whether the strain was too much for him. But I doubt that. He's a very fit chap, and I would think it's more likely to be to do with the way the car was performing.
Nelson Piquet, that you see leading Bruno Giacomelli, who is passing the Brazilian, who lets him get on with it because he's not at all worried. Nelson Piquet is now on his last lap, and no matter how René Arnoux charges, there's no way the Frenchman in the Renault, in the Ferrari, is going to win the Italian Grand Prix, even though he's closed the gap to 10.7 seconds, unless Nelson Piquet has mechanical trouble in the 52nd of the 3.6-mile laps here at Monza. Piquet has dominated the race. He goes into the road-jar bends for the 52nd and last time. He approaches in 4th gear, Lesmo 1, at 150 miles an hour. He exits it, still in 4th gear. into Lesmo 2, past the crowning grandstand on the left, and Nigel Mansell's engine has blown up in the biggest possible way. No, it's De Angelis. De Angelis in 5th position, seems to have blown his engine.
Yes, well, he's probably a main, or he could have been out of fuel, possibly. I mean, we're getting to that stage of the race, and it sounds as if maybe it could just have been that. So there's Piquet, nursing it round now, driven a very fine race indeed. He's in command throughout, and has held on with obviously some minor mechanical difficulty. Arno's done everything he could, and it's the perfect result of the championship. And I should think Alan Prost is ruining the mistake he made at Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago, because this result makes it look very much worse than it was at the time.
And there is Nelson Piquet crossing the line to win his 2nd Grand Prix of the year, to come home in the Italian Grand Prix as René Arnoux finishes in 2nd place, 10.2 seconds behind the Brazilian. Eddie Cheever approaches the line there in 3rd position. In 4th position, it's going to be Patrick Tambay. In 5th position, it looks as though it's going to be Derek Warwick, because, as I said, Elio De Angelis' Renault engine faltered and stuttered as he went past to complete his 51st lap, and I'm waiting to see who comes round next, and it could be that, having finished 4th in Holland, Derek Warwick is going to come home 5th here in Italy and score points for the Toleman team for the 2nd race in succession. Well, whatever happens, there is Piquet. He's driven absolutely superbly, and Tambay has finished in 4th position. Elio De Angelis has managed to get home. He must have worked the car from side to side and swilled the fuel about, and finishes in 5th position then. So Elio De Angelis finishes in 5th position, and in 6th place Derek Warwick. We're just waiting for the Englishman to come home now, but subject to a confirmation, as usual, with the crowd already in the usual Monza mad style, swarming all over the track. Subject to official confirmation, the World Championship really does look as though it's not only going to go on to Brands Hatch in a fortnight's time for the Grand Prix of Europe in a state of tremendous excitement, but is not going to be resolved until South Africa, the last Grand Prix of the year, because now Nelson Piquet, that you see in the picture with Patrick Tambay behind him, is in 3rd position. But Prost is leading still with 51 points from Arnoux, who's closed up to within 2 points, 49 behind his arch rival. Nelson Piquet in 3rd position in the World Championship with 46 points. Patrick Tambay in 4th position with 40 points, and then a long gap before Keke Rosberg in 5th place with 25. And in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari have increased their lead even further over Renault. 89 points to Ferrari, 72 points to Renault. And here again, the results of the Italian Grand Prix. A win for Nelson Piquet from René Arnoux. In 3rd position, Eddie Cheever. In 4th place is Patrick Tambay. And in 5th place, behind Patrick Tambay, is Elio De Angelis. And then in that vital 6th place, it was indeed Derek Warwick, who has got points for himself and Toleman for the 2nd Italian Grand Prix for the 2nd Grand Prix in succession. There are the tifosi that I've been talking about so much all afternoon. Now you know what I mean. And they are happy with the 2nd place for Arnoux, because that means to say that he is within 2 points of catching the World Championship leader, and that he's increased the Ferrari lead. Well, a great Italian Grand Prix as ever, and now we look forward to the Brands Hatch race, the European Grand Prix.
Nelson Piquet con i suoi 9 punti esattamente a quota 46 nella classifica mondiale, quindi un discorso che a questo punto si riapre decisamente. Un discorso che si riapre decisamente mentre l'entusiasmo sotto il podio è veramente alle stelle. Stavamo dicendo, ora nella classifica mondiale Alain Prost è fermo a quota 51, René Arnoux passa a quota 49, quindi a soli 2 punti da Alain Prost, e sale a quota 46 anche Nelson Piquet, mentre Patrick Tambay è ora a quota 40. Queste sono le posizioni dopo questa 58esima edizione del Gran Premio d'Italia di Formula 1. Per la premiazione vediamo i piloti giungere in questo istante sul podio. Ed è proprio lo vediamo, tutta la gara. I complimenti vanno per il vanto a Nelson Piquet, i concorrenti sono in questo istante sul podio, vengono lontano la bandiera, ecco Comentos che consegna alla prima classificata la corona con loro. I concorrenti sono sul podio, i concorrenti sul podio vengono premiati alla prima istante, le bandiere vengono alzate. Le note dell'inno brasiliano salutano la vittoria di Nelson Piquet. Premiazione con corone d'alloro e con la Coppa del Presidente della Repubblica, offerta da Rosario Alessi, Presidente dell'Automobile Club d'Italia. La medaglia d'oro del Presidente Rosario Alessi, sempre al primo classificato, mentre la Coppa d'Oro della difesa è stata consegnata da Fabrizio Serena, Presidente della Stucchi Primetti, presidente dell'automobile Club a Milano, al secondo classificato la Coppa Coni, da Pietro Stucchi Primetti al terzo classificato. Proseguono le premiazioni. In questo istante, ecco, il riconoscimento floreale anche ai vincitori, a tutti gli altri. Lanciano i loro cappellini, così come già era accaduto nelle precedenti edizioni, l'hanno fatto Civer, la pasta Piquet, e probabilmente fra qualche istante anche René Arnoux lancerà il suo cappellino alla folla e viene ancora complimentato e premiato. Ecco un'altra coppa che viene consegnata in questo istante a Eddie Civer, Coppa Tony da Piero Stucchi Primetti. Il trofeo Campari sarà invece consegnato dal dottor